Hateful One, Eggman here with another video, and I've opened up the Riftbound section of Eggman events. I've spent a lot of time in the last couple days trying to get deck lists, data, and everything else over the last couple months for the Riftbound card game. I know it's just coming out here in North America in the English version, but there's been a lot of events, a lot of data from some Chinese events that have been happening over the last couple months, and I wanted to do my best to try to get that information, picked up on the website, so you guys have some ideas and understanding on how the game looks from like a meta sense. So spoilers, there's a lot of Kaisa and Master Yi, but the video will be a little bit longer than that one. So if you guys are new to the channel, though, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Riftbound and other card games as well. You can also check out my website, Eggman Events. We do a lot of different data for a lot of different card games, including the Gundam card game, One Piece card game, Fusion World, Digimon, Union Arena, and now Riftbound as well. So it's going to be our first non-Bandai card game that we're going to be supporting it this way, but I'm really excited for it. Also, I have been a little bit behind on covering Riftbound coverage in general. Generally, in a lot of the games I cover, I'm kind of the primary source, or kind of the guy who leads the data for that one. So this is going to be a bit newer for me, and I would not be able to make this video or any of this data with any of the sources that I'm going to mention. But I'm not the primary source for a lot of this. A lot of this is information that's existed from other creators that I've been able to correlate for myself. But I do want to make sure that they get the credit for it too. So one big shout out to GG Haven. Make sure to check them out if you guys haven't already. They make a lot of content for a lot of card games too, including Riftbound. They've helped me a lot behind the scenes, making sure that all this is set up and getting me educated for how Riftbound works. So make sure to check them out. Also, Piltover Archive. This is where we're going to be using for the next little bit for deck lists and everything else. We are adding Riftbound to Eggman Events' deck builder, but we are waiting for some API access. If you guys have any idea or way to accelerate the approval for that, let us know. But it's probably going to take a couple weeks. So in the meantime, we're going to use Piltover Archive. I really appreciate what their deck builder is and how they have everything set up. So I appreciate using that as well. We also got a lot of information from .gg. They have a whole Riftbound section for it, so you can check that out as well. They've got some articles and user-generated content, so make sure to check that out. A couple of Twitter accounts. We've got Runes and Rift, as well as George G. Use this for some additional information. George also is like a player who's able to get first place in one of these. You guys can check that out on the website, so appreciate that. And then also just one user in particular, I don't know if this is someone more than just this username, but White Warlock had a lot of deck lists for a lot of these events, like pages worth of it, that was really helpful. So I was able to cherry pick a couple from these ones, but I appreciate what they did specifically too, because again, they've got a lot of these deck lists in general. So but yeah, if you guys are checking this out, we do have 5 big events that happened in China over the last couple months. 4 of them were regional opens, and then 1 was the national open as well. You guys can see the top 8 of the legends for each of these kind of pictures too, but we also do have the tournament deck list. So there's over 50 deck lists of just high placing events across a lot of events. Not only were these kind of regional opens, but there are these things called like city challenges that happen, as I think they're kind of like similar-ish to flagships from One Piece, about about as relevant as those can be, at least so between the two of them. And we do get some more kind of unique legends win those, so we were able to get some of the unique ones from that as well, so you can check that out. There's a good amount of deck list, and I think we're going to go over 10. I think we're going about a dozen deck lists in the video, so if you want to go to one particular, you can find that timestamped in the description as well. But for the last 2 kind of larger events, we've had the Shanghai National Open as well as the Hangzhou Regional Open as well. And not only do I have like the kind of the deck list for the legends for there, but we are also looking at some of the kind of unique deck list that were able to just go very deep into the tournament and do very well. So for example, Misfortune, who got 9th, we're able to put that in there, as well as Teemo and Leona. And then we also do have for this one, they had a whole top 128. Like, this event is huge, right? And you can I know like people are like, oh, it's only Kaisa and Master Yi, whatever, but like this is only the top 8 out of almost 2,000 players. And yeah, these decks are good enough to kind of survive like that many rounds of Swiss and Top Cut and stuff, but there are a lot of decks that were unique outside of that, especially in like the day 2 top 128, which we can see some of the deck lists for this one. So there's, for example, there's a Sett, there's a Misfortune, Viktor, Teemo, Annie, as well as Lee Sin. So I have all these. We're going to go over a lot of these deck lists as well, but that's kind of the information is there. And then for anything that we do have where there is kind of like data for the total legend breakdown, I have that put on the page too, so you guys can check that out. So again, a lot of the Master Yi and the Kaisa, but there are some other deck lists as well, including like stuff like Viktor. Viktor's like really interesting. Viktor's like the third most played leader legend, and by an exponential lower amount, but there's so many people on this legend, and it doesn't ever like get in the top 8, which I think is interesting. So we're going to look at the deck list there and look at that, but there it is there. So we're going to start off though, or you're going to find them timestamped in the description as well if you guys want to check out some specific lists. But I kind of want to just go over kind of like the meta for each of these leaders, or sorry, legends. I'm going to say leaders interchangeably, but it's going to be legends for these ones. So we're going to start off though with our first one. So this is the winner of the Shanghai National Open. This is Omega Zero with their build of the Kai'Sa. And if you guys have been playing a little bit, been looking at a lot of this, Kai'Sa has just been one of the best legends, if not the best legend in this game, using the Fury and Mind combination. It has this, reaction you can just, use. You don't have to like use the, the recycle for your rune costs anymore, right? Being able to get rid of that cost means that you generally get to like kind of ramp one, of your runes every turn, right? That's kind of the mentality for it. So the 3 battlefields chosen were Grove of the God Willow, which this one's just like, I think generically one of the best ones in like, you can never go wrong playing this one. Drawing one's really great, and like every deck can do that. So never a bad one. Probably, if I was to guess based off looking all of these deck lists, this is probably the most common battlefield you're going to see across a lot of them. So there's also Dreaming Tree. It's a little bit more dependent on which deck you're using, but first time you use a friendly unit, you choose a friendly unit with a spell. Here you get to draw 1. So I think this one's pretty common. Again, drawing is really great. And then this one's a little bit more peculiar, but I think it's fine. So when you hold here, you get to channel 1 rune Exhausted. So being able to channel runes and be able to get to your later numbers is pretty good. So also, Kai'Sa, I think, has like one of the better champion units in the game right now. It's itself. So it has Accelerate, and then also when you conquer, you get to draw a card. So you're going to notice like there's so many opportunities for Kai'Sa to be able to draw cards. We've got stuff, and then we're like a really like low to the ground like spell deck a lot of the time, where we're able to just get a lot of cards to interact with our opponent's board. We also have Ravenblood Student, which is probably one of the best cards in the game right now. It's just an uncommon, but whenever you play a spell, you get +1 power for the turn, and so you play a lot of spells, we'll be honest. So the fact that this can be like a 4 or 5 power very easily for just doing the things you're already doing is very great. Like one of the best uncommons, like really relevant for this deck and many others. We do also have like our our spells to do damage. So we've got Hextech Ray, right? Just deal 3 something on action, which is great. We've got the Falling Star doing 3 twice, and again, anything that like recycles a rune, you get to like reduce that by 1 using your leader ability or your legend ability. So that's very strong there. We have extra draw from the Watchful Sentry. Like it doesn't really matter the power of your cards either, because most of the time you're going to be like, well, I Hextech Ray you, and then you like deal 3 damage, and then you just get rid of it, right? So very strong. We do have like the Lecturing Yordle, right? Being able to draw and be a tank. We've got the Nexus Hopeful, which we're going to be playing a lot of cards per turn. So this just being like a cheap 4 power is great too. And then we just kind of wait till we get to our late game. We have cards like Darius. Again, this is being able to, give yourself ready, and +2 power is good to let you just, get 7 to any of the battlegrounds. We have Thousand-Tailed Watcher, which this card's also just absurd for what it does, right? Being able to rush and then give -3 power this turn to every unit for like no actual like cost, right? Like it's crazy. Like being able to use this effect and then like, oh, let's see, you have like 2 units, you give -3 twice, right? So let's like it's crazy how good this stacks. The fact that it's everything and that it's -3, like it just really good there. So being able to use this to just like this is very difficult for you to just like not play this. And like this you play this and you get to choose a battleground and take it unless your your opponent says otherwise. So we also have the Rain here, the signature spell. 6 damage 2 times 2 damage 6 times is just very good. I know I need to find better words for very good, but you guys know how this works, right? You play this out and you're like, oh, I just get to clear your opponent's entire board, and the cost is really minimal for me. And then I just get to play my own things next turn and just make it way more manageable. Very good card here. And then Time Warp. This one, I know a lot of people are more they're not sure if it's good or not, right? But this can just definitely win you the game, right? You take a turn after this and you get to banish 1. So and definitely how it works in this game is that, well, I have 2 battlefields. Cool. I'm going to Time Warp, and now I get 2 additional points and I win the game, right? It's kind of absurd still, right? I mean, it's 10 costs. It costs 4 technically. You get to recycle 3 instead, but I think this is worth running. I think 2 is probably the right number for it. I think 3 is a little bit greedy for it, but it is just like saying, well, I'm ahead right now. I get to win the game because I'm able to, essentially you can get 4 points uncontested because of this one card. It can be really expensive. It can be, you're not always going to find time to use it, but I think it's pretty good for where it's at. So other than that, we do have some sideboard cards, right? We've got like Progress Day, Thermal Beam. We've got Void Seeker, being able to deal damage, draw a card. Good balance, right? Very, very strong. And then the rest of the pieces here. I'm going to say like this card has to be like, I don't even know if it's really good or not, if this is just like, a swag card for the sideboard. You guys can let me know. But generally speaking for Kaiser, yeah, the way that it works, a lot of it is just, they are going to be doing a lot of damage, playing a lot of spells, and make it difficult for your cards to survive on the board. And then later, like when you've got nothing, you're going to play your big boys and then, time warp to be able to just keep it there. So I think Kai'Sa is very strong because of that. It's difficult to interact with it as well, but there are ways to kind of counteract it, and we'll see some decks that have been kind of being able to keep up with it as well. But here's a build. Congratulations to Omega Zero for their Shanghai National Open win. We also do have the second place for the event, and Master Yi, I think like in general, you're going to see in this game compared to a lot of other games that I cover too, that deck building is a lot more flexible. You're not going to see as many 50 for 50s, especially with 40 for 40s, because it's a 40 card game. You're not going to see as many 40s for 40s, and also there's a lot of just personal choices for also the battlefields and your sideboards and stuff. But specifically, Master Yi kind of has like 2 really relevant builds right now. We've got this one from SugarFree, which is a little bit like lower to the ground, right? The idea from my experience is that you just try to conquer a battlefield early, and then with your legend effect of being able to whenever you defend alone, get +2 power, you just get a lot of ways to defend very, very easily for that +2 a lot of the time. So like Stalwart Poro, you're probably one of your best opening cards. You just get to play it there, and then it's 5 power on defense. Your opponent's going to have a hard time. You just get like a lot of free early points because of that, which is really great. We've got some of these like really good spells of Defy and Guard. We've got Charm, which Charm can kind of win you the game by itself too. The fact you just move an enemy unit, you move it anywhere, right? So you just move something from a battlefield back to their base, and you're like, cool, I get to conquer it, and then like after that I get to just win the game because of that, because I played a one rune spell there. But there it is. We do have like Discipline. We've got Rune Prison, Clockwork Keeper for draw, very strong for us here, and then the Hourglass as well, being able to have some ways to interact with removal and save our units is also really good as well. So otherwise, we do have some ways to ramp for this one. This was not kind of like the ramp heavy build of it, but we do have some chances for it. Our kind of heavier cards, we've got Kiana. This being able to like either ramp or draw one is really great. We've got Tasty Fey Folk, which the fact that this doesn't have to, like, you don't have to channel any runes to play this card is kind of cracked. The fact that it's just like a generic for 7, and then you get to channel 2 on the death is great as well. And like has the Accelerate. We also have the White Flame Protector. This card's absurd by just giving something +8 power, and it helps you just like really like trade for something very easily, especially since you have like you really kind of focused on having like only one card on the battlefield per turn. So like being able to be like, well, I'll use this, I'll make my Clockwork Keeper a 10, and then I just get to conquer a battlefield with it, which is good. And then the Death Bloom Predator. I know that a lot of people have been trying to play this card too, and it's like one of the more expensive cards right now as well. But you can play me you can play me in an occupied enemy battlefield. So just being able to play out this 8 power something into something, maybe your opponent was expecting that I'd have to take a turn off from trying to push something unless I had Accelerate. This kind of just has Accelerate without having to pay the cost, which is really nice. So other than that, if you are playing anything from body, I think you have to play on Yielding Spirit. This is just like a way to help you interact with specifically Kai'Sa, right? Prevent all spell and ability damage this turn. So great there. We've got like the Sabotage, Primal Strength. We've got some of the Fey Folk and the Predator, and also the Catalyst of Aeons here. So channel 2 runes exhaust if you couldn't. Channel 2 runes, draw 1. So just like a way to get to the late game a little bit better as well. But in general, I think like this is like a really like kind of like not like aggressive, but like you have like these ways to like be able to make these like really sticky battlefields very early, get a lot of early points, and then you just kind of threaten your opponent that if I just get like one really stellar turn, I can just get both battlefields and kind of end the turn there. So I've been playing a good amount of Master Yi compared to Kai'Sa. I think that's like one of the one of my more favorite decks, at least one of the more viable ones as well. We also do kind of have like this other build here. So this is the build from 5th place from the Shanghai National Open. I do their name is in the description. I will not be able to pronounce it correctly, so my apologies. But there's also kind of like this other way to play it, and it's mostly based off of the singular card, which is the Dazzling Aurora, right? It's gear, and then at the end of your turn, reveal cards from the top of your main deck until you reveal a unit, play it, and then ignoring its cost and recycle the rest. So it's not a spell. You don't get to use it immediately, but the fact that you can use this every turn moving forward is great. And so this is I don't think like cheese is the right way to say what this build is, but it's a build where what if we only play units that are really, really expensive and really, really good? So we talked about White Flame Protector, we talked about Dead Bloom Predator, and then there's also the Volibear. So it's 13 while defending. So with Master Yi effect, it's a 15 while defending, which I'm gonna say is pretty impossible to remove like easily. Like it's just like one of the best defenders in the game. When opponents moves to a battlefield other than mine, you get to draw one. So you get to like if they try to just move stuff into the other battlefield, you keep drawing. It's like a really, really good wall to get set up, right? And I think Master Yi is like the best way to establish that kind of ability. So really good there. And we just play just a bunch of gears and spells, so we don't have to like worry about missing, right? Like sometimes our worst pick is like Tasty Fey Folk, but the fact that it does have like the Death Knell as well, you're not upset with it. So again, we have a lot of ramp cards that already exist in this game. We've got the Hourglass as well, to like even if they can get rid of the Volibear, we can like defend it and we can put it maybe into the other battlefield. Like we just have a lot of ways to be able to to protect our board because of this too. So other than that, it is again, it's a little bit more, I don't think cheese, but a little bit more linear in the fact that if you don't see Aurora, like you're in a bit of a worse spot. And this game, like it doesn't have a lot of direct searching and not as much like card draw compared to other games that I play, but we're also 40 card decks. So like that's like a bit of a mishmash. So I don't know like the specific odds for being able to find this on curve, but honestly, like the turn you can play it. But again, when we have so many cards that like we do have like cards that say channel draw, like the Find Your Center, right? You get to draw one, channel one, like that helps both things to getting us to Aurora. We have ways to get there. And I don't think it's like impossible for consistency with this. Like obviously we got 5th place, so it's pretty good there. So those are the two builds of Master Yi that we're looking over. But and for Kai'Sa, we're done with Kai'Sa as well. But again, there's so many decks that exist, and you're going to see that there's a lot of different builds and a lot of different choices, which I think is really cool for this game. That even though like it's only in set 1, there are different choices for a lot of these builds that you have moving forward. So there it is. All right, next up we've got Viktor. And so Viktor, again, I mentioned like this is a deck that there's a lot of people on it compared to a lot of other legends. It's probably the 3rd most played legend in Japan, and it hasn't really like gone any like super breakout performances. So it just has this, I'd say, pretty simple effect. You just pay 1 and tap it to play 1 recruit token a turn. So if you are ever in a situation where you've got less things to do in a turn, you do at least get to find these tokens. And really what the focus of this deck is to manipulate the fact that you have these units that you can kill off or like trade with to be able to get some additional abilities for it. So Trifarian Warcamp makes like probably the most sense. Like this is the one you have to play for this deck, since you're going to have a lot more units on average than your opponent. The fact that you get like this skill is better the more units that you have, right? So if you have 3 units, your opponent has 2, this gives you +3 and them only +2, if that makes sense. So Valma's Law, I know a lot of people are playing this just for like keeping things stuck at certain battlefields. And then Arena's Greatest, if you want to try to be a little bit more faster on your win before like Kai'Sa can really set up and get through their late game, you get to kind of maybe sneak out a little bit of a win for it. So our champion unit is the Viktor. When a non-recruit unit dies, you play 1 recruit unit at your base. So being able to like use these abilities to get like more and more of these recruits is really, really nice. The other thing, like compared to like Kai'Sa does like a lot of big damage to singular units, but if you have a lot of units, this is a way to kind of interact with these. And then you get to like have these additional ways to interact with this. So we've got Retreat. This just lets you ramp a little bit more. You can channel a Rune Exhausted. You can return a friendly unit to your owner's hand. So this could be wrong. If you guys can correct me on this, let me know. But I would assume that you can return a token to your hand. It just goes removed from game, but you can still use the effect to be able to use the retreat effect. We do have like the Hidden Blade, one of my favorite cards. I remember the first time I read this, I'm like, this kind of seems bad, but being able to kill your own units, especially since you can kill your own 1/1 token, to be able to just like draw 2 cards. That's kind of good. So that's helpful there. We've got our Daring Poro and Soaring Scout, kind of some of the better like order cards for the early curve, just because the ramp and like the, this can just get a battlefield early and then you can help keep it there. We also have Call of the Week, and if you're playing against a deck that doesn't play a lot of different units, then you can just say, well, I'm going to Call the Week, I'm going to lose a 1 token and you're going to lose your Volibear. Does that make sense? Is that fair? It doesn't matter, because that's what you can do with this one. It's very good there. We do also have like our Lecturing Yordle. We've got our Faithful Malefactor, being able to make more recruits, Vanguard Captain 2, and then also like stuff like Cruel Patron. So again, like this is a 6 power card. It's above average power, but it has this additional cost. You have to kill a friendly unit. You just play a token and then you pop the token, and there you use. You get this Cruel Patron out. Other than that, we've got like Consult the Past, hidden, but being able to draw 2 is good for that one. We've got Spirit Mother, being able to make sprite units with temporary, which can help you just have another unit for you to sacrifice for your effects. We've got Fallen Comet. We've also have like our late game. We've got Grand Stratagem too. So just give every friendly unit that you own +5 power for this turn is just great. So if you got a bunch of tokens left over, you can say, well, I'm going to buff all of them up, and now I can really pressure a lot of battlefields and get those advantages there. Riptide Rex, just a unit that's able to deal 6 damage. Not terrible for us either. So you got to go 2 for 2. And then we also have the Singularity, being able to do 6 damage to 2 different units. And then we have the Watcher as well, which we've mentioned. This card can, like, the turn you play it, like this almost like guarantees like interaction in your favor at like attacking to a battlefield. Because again, if they have a lot of units, let's say they have 3 units at a single battlefield, you gave that battlefield -9 because it's -3 to each of those. So I think that's really, really good there. So other than that, we do have a couple additional like sideboard cards. We've got like the Shen, Leona, like as like another shield unit that can stun a unit at a spot. We've got like the Machine. We only have one of these, right? But you can play 3 recruits on Death Knell, so that's fine. And then just Vengeance, is straight up kill a unit. Like if you're playing against decks where that's just, you just need the removal, I can see that being like the case for it there. But honestly, there's like a lot of cool synergies with this deck, right? It is kind of like a bit of the weenie army for it, but then like eventually you're able to get to like this late game where again you've got so much pressure, you can kind of out resource your opponent because you have a lot of draw cards and you have a lot of ways to just make units that you can go kind of 1-for-1 with afterwards with your spells afterwards. So I think this is a really fun deck. I think Viktor has a lot of cool synergies here, and this is the build here. Next up, we've got Sett, and if you guys have been watching my channel, this is my favorite legend in the game right now. I have a lot of fun with it. It has Order and Rune, and there's just a lot of great abilities you get to do for it. So these are kind of like the honestly, like the first 2 I think are kind of understood. Like Monastery of Hirana, we play a lot of buffs, so being able to get draws is great. Dreaming Tree, we have ways to target our own units, and we also have the Windswept Hillock. So units here have ganking, so being able to have like your Sett champion being able to move between the 2 is great for us. I think like this is the one that you can build the deck around a little bit more. Obviously there's 2 different champion units for Sett, but this one, like just being able to play this out and then just have all these buffs that you get to do with it continuously is great. So you can buff it, you use it to spend the buff to get +4, and then you buff it again, and then you use the buff, and then you conquer somewhere, and then it gains a buff, and then you have like your boss effect. Like there's so much synergies with buffs in this deck. It's very, very fun. So there's also the other champion unit. It's the 4-drop Sett. So you get +1 for each buff unit at your battlefield, so including itself. So you can get like the buffs for itself double up, right? So with 1 buff, this is a 7 power card, which is pretty absurd for a 4 cost, which is helpful. And it also helps with that tank. And then also, like this honestly makes the deck, I think, the showstopper. So you get to buff your unit and move it anywhere on a battlefield. It's so flexible for only 1, so flexible. And the fact that you can either use a body or owner, like there's no reason to not use this card at 3 copies. Like it is what you need for the deck. It is incredibly good for Sett there. So other than that, we do have like our like tiny units that have our buffs, so Pit Rookie and the Cloud Field. We do also have like some ways for us to like restand our stuff, right? We've got our First Mate as well. We can also ready a unit off the wallop here. We've got like Face Breaker. We've got ways to get some additional buffs. We've got Call to Glory, which can let you spend a buff to get the +3. So being able to use that is great too. And then we also do have like the Fiora and the Lee Sin. Fiora just being able to be mighty whenever she's buffed, so you get deflect, ganking, and shield, which is already pretty dang good there. And then we also do have the Lee Sin, just like a generally good accelerate card, and then other buff friendly units get the +2 power. So being able to use this to like really buff up your cards, and also just be able to have one of our accelerate cards is good there. We have the Divine Judgment, which is a card that I don't personally play, but it can be great. Each player chooses 2 units, 2 gears, 2 runes, and 2 cards in their hand, and you get to recycle the rest. So the fact that if your opponent just has a lot of cards on board, a lot of advantage, especially like something against Viktor and they got a lot of tokens, you just get to recycle everything, right? So 7 is a bit expensive, and I'd generally when I play Sett, it's a little bit lower to the ground, so we're not as much like this, like, you know, Divine Judgment everything away, but it can be helpful there if you are behind. Again, Unyielding Spirit, just kind of necessary if you're playing against Kai'Sa. You know, being able to play Salvage as well to kill a gear to draw 1, not too bad. And then we also have the Divine Judgment and the Harness Dragon here. So when you play me, you get to kill an enemy unit. So killing enemy units is pretty dang good in this game, let me tell you. So other than that, not much more to say. I've been playing a lot of Sett. I've seen a lot of different builds. I think there's a lot of different kind of paths you can take with this legend. I've been having a lot of fun. And this is the 19th place Sett from the National Open. So the highest place Sett out of the top 1% of that event, right? With 1,900 people, and you got 19th place. That's pretty dang good. So here's the build there. All right, next up we've got Miss Fortune. So she is a body in chaos legend, and it has this tapping effect. Give a unit ganking this turn, so being able to move between the 2 battlefields is very good to be able to help you like conquer new spots without having to like take it back to your base and then put it into a battlefield again. So we are a little bit more late game, so we were playing like the Aspirant Climb, right, to make it a +1 point game. We do have the Sigil of the Storm. You get to when you conquer here, you have to recycle one of your runes, so is a little bit tougher there. So and then there's also the Obelisk of Power, so making you get to the late game a little bit more, right? That's like the entire idea for this, right? And like I think like the idea with the Sigil of the Storm is that it's the one that you don't want to conquer. You conquer the other one, and then if your opponent wants to get points, they have to be a little bit behind than you on your rune recycling too. So that can be again, all of this helps you. You have to, you get to the late game a little bit more, and we have a lot of these kind of more expensive like units and spells, and one of them is the Aurora, right? So obviously if we see like the Master Yi be able to use this, we can use it as well, and it's the same kind of idea, right? We've got so many of these different like cards to be able to help us ramp, draw cards, and get into like these things. So they got like mobilize, channel a rune, exhausted, draw 1. We also have like stack deck as well. Look top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand, recycle the rest. So this just lets us help us find like the Aurora. Like it's probably like one of the best ways to actually find Aurora in this game right now. So very helpful there. And then we do have we don't have that many units, right? We've got the Mind Splitter here. When you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a card from it, and they discard it. So being able to get like the discard 1 there. We've got the Doom Dead Bloom Predator, which if you play it off the Aurora, you get to put it into a spot, so that's great. And then we have Volibear, which we've talked about already. Stupid good card. So being able to play something off with this and then like ganking over to the next battlefield if you need to help conquer it. We don't have like that many like units, so helping them move a little bit more is a little bit good. Our champion unit is the Misfortune Captain, so it has accelerate and then ganking, and then also the first time we move you can ready something else that's exhausted. I've played this a little bit in my Sett decks as well. Being able to use that to help us move things is really, really nice there as well. So other than that, we do just have like all these ways to interact with our opponent, get draws, and get to the late game as well. And then, you also get the harrowing here, which you get to play a unit from your trash, ignoring its energy cost. And we have so many good units that could be trashed later. So being able to pay just 6 to be able to play out Volibear, pretty good. Not too bad for this one, especially since you can do something like stack deck, put 3 into your main deck, trash the rest, and then afterwards you can just use it there. So those are procession. So you choose an enemy unit in the battlefield, take control of it, and recall it. So that is just great for taking control of your opponent's cards. And then if we have ways to like ready them up or do anything else, for example, if we then attack with our Misfortune, we can attack, and then when you move you get to ready something, and then you can go from there. So not a terrible card. Not like I don't think like the focus of this deck, but it helps us like get rid of our opponent's character and their unit and be able to get one of our own. So good enough there. So other than that, a bit of a tricky deck. Definitely a lot of spells moving on and focusing on Aurora Aurora, but can be really obnoxious and get some really good late game power, which is again why we're using all of these battlefields that make it trickier for our opponent to win quick. So making it one more point, giving each player a rune, or making it this one where if your opponent tries to pressure this one, they just lose out on their recycle their runes kind of stuff. So there's the build there. All right, next up we've got Teemo, and if you guys have any knowledge about the League of Legends lore and anything, Teemo is just annoying. And they did a really good job moving Teemo into this game and making him like very obnoxious, very tricky, and just kind of difficult to deal with. So for Teemo here, this is the 30th place list from the Shanghai Nationals here. The battlefields are actually real quick. So how the Swift Scout works. So you can just pay one rune instead of recycling one if you want to play something with hidden. So that means that you don't have to like unramp yourself every turn to using all of your hidden cards, which we do play quite a bit. And then for one, untapping, put his Teemo unit you own into your hand from your champion zone or the board. So what you can do is that like for two, you can just like move a Teemo and you can hide it somewhere. The Teemo and of choice is the Scout one here. So hidden, you can play this hidden somewhere, and then when you play me, you get +3 power for the turn, so it becomes a 4 power unit into these situations, which is great. And being able to like bounce it back to your hand with the Swift Scout and then being able to put it out on the board, right, is not too terrible. So like all that works out. We do have kind of like the same kind of stuff from the Chaos side that we saw from Misfortune, but we do just have like all these different reaction cards, ways to move our opponent's units and move our own as well. So we've got like Flash, we've got like Ride the Wind, being able to move a friendly unit and ready it. We are also on the Mine side, so we do get to play Raven Blue Swoon, which again, we've got so many different spells that we can just buff this up very quickly and get some battlefields from there. We are also like kind of trying to fill up our trash because we are playing 3 copies of Dr. Mundo, so your might is increased by the number of cards in your trash. And the start of your beginning phase, you recycle 3 of them too. So let's say you have like 10 cards in your trash. This becomes a 16 power unit, which is kind of absurd, right? In this game is how we've known it. So stuff like Stack Deck really helps us get it puts 3 cards into our trash. Or we also do have just a lot of spells that we're going to end up using. And we also have the invert timelines, right? Each player discards their hand and draws 4. So which can also just put a lot of like draw power and like recycle our opponent's stuff. And I think that's something that's kind of good in this build as well. So honestly, you just kind of get tricky. You get to these points where you have these like you make it difficult for your opponent to get points, and then at the end of the game you have these Dr. Mundos and you're like, you can't interact with this cleanly and I get to win because of it. So that's kind of like the idea for Teemo a lot of the time. Again, like having the Teemo be like hidden, being able to move those cards. We've got our signature spell, being able to return 2 cards with hidden from your trash to your hand, ignoring their cost, which can include your Teemo itself. We've got the mutation as well. So choose a friendly unit, increase its might until it equals the might of another friendly unit. So let's say we got like a little Teemo and we've got the Dr. Mundo. Now they're both 16 power, which is kind of good there. So I think like this is a really interesting like deck and the way that it works. Like we were playing like almost no units again. Like there's so many decks that exist in this early meta where units are just kind of like you have to play them, right? But you don't need to play them in a lot of cases, right? So there's like you can like be really creative with like using spells and gears instead of like only playing out these big boy units. So other than that, I think it's an interesting build. I don't know if I'd ever play Teemo myself, but here's what people have been working with. And then again, the 30th place list from the Shanghai Nationals. So we've got a couple more lists from Shanghai to wrap it up before we go to kind of our extra ones. But we've got Darkchild Annie here. So I will be honest with Fury and Chaos, right? The leader, the legend has to be pretty good to compete with Kai'Sa as something that's good and playable, right? The fact that we're on the same 2 runes, the fact that I think like Annie's like not terrible. We do have like the Annie champion here, so when you play me, you return a spell from your trash to your hand, which is like pretty good, right? Recycling a spell from your trash is probably one of the best abilities in the game, assuming you've had spells that you want to play. The issue is that you're like Kai'Sa is also like a really good unit that you want, and the signature spell from Kai'Sa is very strong as well. So what do we get from Annie instead? So again, like the effect from is at the end of your turn, you get to ready 2 runes, which means you do have a lot of ways to increase the power of your cards and get some like tricky stuff. For example, you can use the Gust here to return a unit with 3 less power back to its owner's hand. We can use that. Like also like Stack Deck is an action. So the fact that you can have all these different spells that you can activate during your opponent's turn is what's really important for, I think, this deck as well. So being able to get that cycle and that extra draw. We are also playing Teemos as well, since we can play them hidden, and they get to get that additional power with that one. We also have the V destructive, so it has gank and then recycle one card if you're in trash to give you +1 power for the turn. This is not a once per turn ability, meaning so if you have like, if you want to recycle 3 cards, this becomes a 6 power for the turn, right? So it is, you can only activate it on your turn, right? But the fact that you can use this to really push damage into one lane or the other is really good. We've got our like Legion Vanguard already. Just being able to play this with Accelerate is good. We've got our Fight or Flight, Rebuke. We've got Void Seeker because we can use it, and then we do also have our Kaisa as well. So again, like, it is a little bit tougher with Annie because, like, one, this card's gonna be really expensive because everyone wants to play it in Kaisa, but also the fact that, you know, you don't get this for free, right? Like, this isn't our champion unit. I do think, like, still the Annie's fine, but I think if we could, like, choose which champion unit we'd probably want Kaisa as the one we could play whenever we wanted. But it's still great. We're still gonna find it, right? We got Invert the Timelines, and we also have the Vayne, which this was also really neat too. So Assault 3, if your opponent controls a battlefield, you enter ready, and then when you conquer, you can pay 1 to return you back to your owner's hand. So what you can do is, like, this is really good at, like, just pressuring like boards. You can save it for later if you need to, and the fact that, you know, you get to just have like a +5 power, you know, whenever on any battlefield when you need it is, I think, good enough as it is. So we'll see if like Annie's able to kind of take off, I think. But it's really cool to see like some other builds of these two, right? Of the Fury and Chaos runes that aren't just Kaisa, and interested to see if anyone's really able to make this one work. So there it is there. And then wrap it up for our Shanghai national deck list that we're looking at. We've got Lee Sin here. So again, kind of similar to Annie. Like, we are like, all right, well, Master Yi is pretty good, and he's on common body, so like Lee Sin's got to be pretty good. There's got to be something, you know, special to be able to kind of compete with that. So Lee Sin's effect is just for one, you get to buff a friendly unit, which is good. Like, there's so many effects that depend on buffing or having buffs or anything else. So I think it is like a generically okay ability, and that way just being able to get that one power for there. Dreaming Tree, Master of Hirana, and Candlelight Sanctum, I think all make sense, right? We have a lot of ways to target our own cards. We have buffs, so being able to draw ones off them, and then also the Candlelit Sanctum. So if we conquer here, look at the top 2 cards of your main deck, recycle both of them are one of them, and then put them back in any order. So being able to use this to like dig deeper into our deck for cards that we're needing is great. We do also have the Lee Sin standards. So this is a great card that's also a champion unit that we can play out, you know, have our champion. So being able to have something with Accelerate, I think, is almost always like a really good just champion by itself. Master Yi already does have like its Master Yi, though. The fact that that card is like, you know, you just get to play it ready already is a little bit better, right? But the fact that yeah, this is not too bad, and then since you're so good at buffing things, since it's on your legend ability, you get to, you know, get that bonus to a little bit more. We're playing a lot of cards as well from Mastery that you'd expect to. We got Defy, On Guard, Charm. We got the Poro here. We've got the Pit Rookie as well, and then we do have like a little bit more of this kind of later stuff as well. So we do have like the Hourglass. We do have like the Guardian here. So being able to, you know, be a shield with a buff as well is helpful. We do have like the First Mate is kind of like a cracked card. I play this a lot in Sett, but just being able to ready any card regardless of cost or anything is pretty good on a 3-cost body for that one. We do have like the one Primal Strength. We do have our signature spell, which is Dragon's Rage. So move an enemy unit, then choose another enemy unit at its destination. They deal damage equal to their mites to each other. So it's just being able to like use these to like, you know, hopefully like interact with each other is very good. Like, essentially, like, you just like the weaker one gets rid of itself and you get to move something. So all of those abilities are just great in that kind of sense. We have the Quiana we talked about. We've got the Wizened Elder. So being able to use this to get like a +2. Sett, as mentioned, this card loves being buffed, and this deck is really, really good at buffing it. So there we've got there, and then we've got the Uter. So spend your buff, choose one, and you've choose one you've not chosen this turn. So you either get to deal damage, stun a unit, ready you, or give you ganking for the turn. So like a really generically good card. I'd say better in this leader compared to Sett, because you can just say, well, I will play this card, I will, you know, use the buff, and then I'll, you know, buff it with my leader, and then I'll spend the buff to be able to ready you to be able to move somewhere. So the fact that this is kind of like a gear, right? The fact that you can like dial a combo with this one is really great. It's really flexible. I highly recommend it for Yi Sin. I think it'd be really good there for it. So we got the one copy there. So other than that, we just got a bunch of spells for our sideboard for mind and for common rune there, and kind of makes sense. So I think it's like a little bit more tricky version of Master Yi. It is like, I think, a little bit. It's you have to see your piece a little bit more, right? Like, I do think like the buffing ability is good, but you have to find like the sequencing for the combos that for you to be able to get the full power from it. But I do think this deck has a lot of chances, and if you're bored of playing Master Yi and you want to try something different, it's fun that you have pretty much like a similar legend where they have like the same kind of base of like the common body stuff, and then you can kind of change it up for Lee Sin himself. So there is the build there. So we've got a couple more builds, and these are just going to be kind of more like unique legends from city challenges as well. So we're going to start off with Darius here. It's got an Order and Fury, and it has this reaction for Legions to add 1. So if you've played a card already this turn, essentially the next card you play, you can make it cost 1 less, is like kind of the easier way to say that. We do have like the Warrens here, conquer, discard, draw 1. We've got the War Camp to get +1 to everything, and then we also do have the Candlelit Sanctum, which we've talked about previously. And yeah, this is a deck that I do think is very tricky to play, I think, at a high level. There are just like a lot of different ways to like kind of sequence our plays, and we do want to make sure that we can get some of our combos off with it. So the kind of base of this deck is the Baited Hook, which I think this is a gear that can work with a lot of different decks within like the Order kind of set for it. But for one and one recycling 1 order and tapping this card, you get to kill a friendly unit, and then look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may play a unit from among them that has a might up to 1 or more than the killed unit, ignoring its cost, then recycle the rest. So it has to, I believe it's the base cost of the might from it, so you don't get to like buff something up and you get that ability. But there's also just like a lot of like sneakily good low power cards or low might cards that you do get to get off of those. So the first one is Vayne. So we kind of talked about this one already, but being able to say, if your opponent controls a battlefield, I get to enter ready. So and then it attacks for 5 with assault 3. So just pretty good. Like, it's a good way to say, like, you know what, I'm going to kill my Soaring Scout. I'm going to be able to channel a rune exhausted. I get to play out this Vayne. It's going to be active as long as my opponent controls a battlefield, and I get to either conquer the battlefield they're at or conquer the other one, right? Like if it's empty or something like that. So really great, and it's very easy. Like, you cannot miss with this card because it's 1 more, up to 1 more. So anything that's 1 power or more, which is every card in the deck, this card's always going to be able to be hit off the hook, which is really great. We also have Kaisa, which is a little bit trickier to get, but again, like the fact that you can accelerate it and then draw 1 afterwards is good. And then we also have Draven. So Draven's also the kind of same thing. It only has 3 might, but your might increases by your points. So if you have 2 points, this becomes 5, right? So very, very good way to, you know, get the combo off Baited Hook for these abilities and just kind of get into these bigger units. So also, like, for the fact that you can play like a Faithful Manufacturer, right? You can use it to get like a recruit, and then you know that Vayne is just a really great card off the Baited Hook if you need to. And it's not like the Baited Hook cost, like, even if you miss, like, there's not that much you like miss out on it too, and you can get some other cards from it. So obviously, like anything, like everything being 3 or with Kaisa being the strongest one, so if you know that you pop something with 3, you can just like guarantee that you're going to hit something, at least as long as you hit something off the top of the deck that's a unit. So Darius is just also like a really nice like ace in the hole to have within your champion deck. The fact that you don't have to put this in your main deck and you can just use this to get the +2 for the turn is pretty nice. I do think that's helpful for the deck too. So other than that, it is like, a bit linear for like trying to get max value from Baited Hook, but this card could be really, really great and get those additional advantages for you there. So other than that, I think this has been a fun deck to kind of look. I've seen a lot of people try to, I think it's like the best deck to use off Baited Hook, and there's a lot of ways to try to make the most value from it. And this is the build here for Darius. All right, next up we've got the Ahri here. So Ahri has this: when an enemy unit attacks a battlefield you control, give it -1 power during this turn to a minimum of 1. So this is kind of, I would say, a slightly like worse version of Master Yi's effect, right? Master Yi just giving like +2 to one of your units. It has to be by itself, so it is like not strictly worse, right? But the fact that, Ahri only gives a you know, only -1. But if they're attacking like with more than one thing, right, you can give, you know, this is not a once per turn ability, right? So you give them like each thing the -1. So like it's not like strictly worse, right? It's just like I think that you know, it's different for the snares. I think the snares that exist more right now is a little bit better in like Master Yi's effect, but this can still be really good, and you're really great at defending these battlefields, right? So that does help you. So with that, right, like we do have like Grove of the Godwilla to help us with that. We've got the Trifarian War Camp, which we kind of like mitigate this effect with their own ability for the, you know, when your enemy unit attacks there, and then Dreaming Tree, because again, I think that like Calm has like some of the best like things to like spells to target your own friendly units, so getting extra draws off that has been very good. So we also do have our champion here, so Ahri here, when I attack or defend, give an enemy unit here -2 this turn to a minimum of 1, so obviously like scales really well with your own legend ability, so that does help you there. We've got, like, again, a lot of these spells I was talking about. We've got Defy, Stupefy, Unguard, Retreat, Charm, right? All of these are great. And then the Stalwart Poro. Again, kind of like the same thing as Master Yi. Like, it's probably like our best unit to get early game. You can just get a base or battlefield really early with this and then make it difficult for your opponent to take it over, right? You get some either points or you get a lot of early cards out of their hand, and that's great for you. Raven Bloom Student, this card's dumb. You should play it anytime that you can. And as long as you're playing like enough spells to facilitate it, which I would assume that you would most of the time. So other than that, we've got the Clockwork, we've got the Yordle, we've got the Sunlight Guardian, and we got the Foxfire, which is the signature spell from Ahri here. So it's hidden and then action. Kill any number of units at a battlefield with a total of might 4 or less. So being able to use this to like help you get removal on some cards is good, especially since, you know, it works with your leader, your legend ability as well. We do have the single copy Blitzcrank, you know, play me to a battlefield, you may move an enemy unit here, and when I hold, return me to your hand. So just being able to use it for this. Also, what you can do is that yeah, you just play it straight to a battlefield, and then when you do, you can just, yeah, you pull something over, and then you get to like get a good trade with it, which is good. Riptide Rex, we've talked about, Thousand-Tailed Watcher, and then Dr. Mundo, also just a generically good like late game card, just because it's going to be like super powerful, like have a lot of might for it as well. So other than that, like, it is like a bit of a tricky deck, right? You have a lot of ways to interact with your opponent with like using a lot of your spells to like make their interactions, and just kind of like making my opponent nervous. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive like this battle, right? They're going to have to, you know, think twice if they're going to be able to get there. So other than that, I think this is a fun build. I haven't tried it myself, but Ahri looks really interesting, and there's the build there. We've got Yasuo, which I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Yasuo as like a budget build, and the ways to make it budget. This I won't think is like the most budget build for itself, but there are ways to do so. It just has a pretty simple ability for 2 and tapping this legend, move a friendly unit to or from your base. So being able to like have that movement is good for this one. Also, like, you can have you kind of give everything accelerate, if you want to think of it that way. So it doesn't have to be an active unit, it can just be any friendly unit, which is great. We have our champion here, which is Yasuo. So when I attack, I deal damage to my might to an enemy unit here. So being able to just like, this gets to like double its might, if you want to think of it that way. There's a lot of situations where you're like, well, I deal 6 to something and that has 6 might, I get rid of it, and then I challenge, you know, the rest of the cards on the board there. So that is strong for us, you know, and which is why we do have these abilities. We have also like Back Alley Bar, right? When a unit moves here, give it +1 for the turn. So that is helpful. And there are some situations where, again, like Yasuo becomes a 7 and then it deals 7 damage and then it attacks for 7, right? So that kind of +1 helps us really heavily there. Again, we are playing a lot of like the calm stuff, so we do have a lot of the calm spells that we've been looking at. We do have like the Hourglass as well. We do have like the Wielder of Water. So if we're defending alone, we have +2 power. And then we kind of have like our late game stuff too, of like Last Stand. So it's an action, right? Double friendly units might this turn, give it temporary, kill at the start of the controller's beginning phase before scoring. So, but being able to use it with like the Yasuo here to like really get rid of something you can do, which is nice. We've got the Sonya here. When I'm at battlefield, ready 4 of your runes at the end of your turn. We've got the Kane. If this is moved twice, I don't take damage. So being able to like start, like, you can very easily move this twice a turn using your legend ability. And then we talked about the Tasty Fade Folk as well. So you're just kind of like a really flexible leader, legend. I was so close to saying legend that time, but legend, to be able to move around, make it so like your opponent has to kind of keep up with like what you're moving around with, and it's kind of like makes sense for how like Yasuo works. In League of Legends, right? It just kind of wanders around, has a lot of like good ganking potential. So getting that moving is really, really nice. So not much more there, but here is the build here for Yasuo. And the last one of the day, we've got the Leona, and I know this is a deck that Russell really enjoys playing, and we did do some testing earlier this week. You can check out that with Leona here. But honestly, like a really, I know that I can easily fall down the rabbit hole of testing out all of this like stuff with Leona, just because it's like a stun deck. And when I play like MOBAs, like I'm like the tank stun character most of the time, and Leona definitely can fill that. So when you stun one or more enemy units, you get to buff one friendly unit. So being able to get that buff, you guys already know me. I love like the buff mechanic as well. So all of that makes sense. When you conquer, you get to ready 2 runes at the end of your turn. Once you get ganking, or you get the get that extra exhausted rune. So that can be really helpful. Our champion, I'm gonna guess, like again, it's up to your choice for which one you choose as your champion, right? I'm going to say most of the time we're choosing this Leona, though, the Zealot, being able to say if your opponent scores within 3 points of victory, you get to enter ready. So you can just choose to play this whenever you want and make sure that it's ready. And then stunned enemy units here have -8 power to a minimum of 1. So it's just a great ability for, like, this can just like really get rid of a battlefield with like difficult interaction from your opponent. So our other Leona is not too terrible, right? It just has shield 1. And then when I attack, stun an enemy unit here. So just being able to get that stun ability is great. And then again, you get to get a buff with it too. So you get to attack for 5, and then your opponent doesn't have to get rid of it. Also, the fact, like, you don't always have to like get rid of a battlefield. The fact that you do get like these stuns and be able to get these buffs are just good enough by itself. We also have Zenith Blade, which is the signature spell here. Action, stun an enemy unit at a battlefield. You may move a friendly unit to an enemy's battlefield. That's just really good, right? Let's say like, oh, well, I have Leona in the other one. I can just say, I'm going to use Zenith Blade here, and I'm going to use it on Leona, and I get to move to the other one, and I get to stun your thing. And then your stun thing has -8, right? Like this can just like clean up battlefields and just really take control of them. It can be very strong if set up correctly. So we have the Hourglass, because why would we not? We've got our Faithful Manufacturer, our Shield Bearer. We've got Call to Glory, since we do play buffs, being able to just get like a free +1, +2 temporarily for spending the buff is fine. And then we also have the Sett as well, since we do have a bunch of buff units in there, and also the Fiora, which it shouldn't be too difficult to give this the +1 or give it a buff to be able to get its mighty ability. So very good there. So other than that, I think that this is a really fun deck to play with as well. It's one that I haven't tested with, but I think like, again, like I think like the combo potential for all these are really good. The issue is that like you do kind of get pinged down by just like straight up damage spells, so that is a little bit tougher for Leona, but it is something that is I really enjoy what this deck gets to do. So there it is there, and that's gonna be it. We've been talking for almost an hour. This video is a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I spent a lot of time getting these deck lists, getting these all set up, and I wanted to make sure that these were like, it was a good resource for anyone getting into the game, because I know a lot of people are right now for the English side of it, and they're just some good deck lists for you guys to start out on the first try if you want just some kind of guidance for what that looks like. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know this video ended up being a little bit longer than I expected, but I had a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to like all the combos, seeing how this game works, and even for just like one set of cards, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different build routes, and it's been a lot of fun seeing what people have been doing and finding success with. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you all next time.